Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kelsey. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to be trying out a new foundation technique called Glass Skin that I saw personally on YouTube here from Mariah Leonard, and I've been dying to try it. I think it looks really cool. So let's jump in. So Mariah posted this video about a week and a half ago or so, where she does this like glass skin foundation technique, and essentially it's like making your skin look like skin but just a bit better and like kind of perfected, but using very little product. What she kept saying over and over was like little product, maximum blending, and so we're gonna try it. I'm also trying out a new foundation. I've tried this like twice, and so I've got some thoughts on it, but I'm using it today, and it's the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better CC Cream. I was really interested, so in Mariah's video, she used the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Foundation, and since that came out, I was like really interested in either that or this. This is something that I've wanted for years, but I've just never taken the plunge on it. So when I saw her video on this technique and she was using the Bye Bye Foundation, it's like, oh, that seems really cool. I feel like I want to try that foundation. And so I kind of did some research and kind of came to the conclusion that I think the CC cream would be better for my skin type. It's a little bit more mattifying, not as dewy, and I get quite oily throughout the day. I thought this would be a better fit. I am going to be talking about this in a video coming up later this week, and so I'll kind of give you some more thoughts on it then, but as of right now, I do really like it. So I have already like moisturized my skin. So Mariah had said that she recommended doing like some good skincare before you got going, and so I did that this morning. I'd used like a mask, and then I moisturized my skin, and I'm going to be using a primer like normal. I'm using the Bare Minerals Prime Time Original Foundation Primer. This primer is nice because it definitely has like a slip to the skin feel, and I do want this product to kind of like spread. And so I have noticed that when I use this primer, my foundation or concealer that I'm putting on top of it does tend to kind of have a little bit of a slip to it, which I don't mind. But it also like sets down after. It's not gonna like continue to slip all day. That would be a different issue. I am going to bring you in a little closer. So this is my skin before this whole process. I feel like overall the texture of my skin and like the tone of my skin has been getting better, but like from here down is definitely like my problem area. So I've got lots of like blemishes kind of in my chin area. I've got a nice one like over on the back of my jaw over here, and so I am wanting to conceal some stuff, but I also don't want to make my skin look like it's not skin anymore. So that's why I was attracted to this like way of doing foundation. So she used a luminizing primer, but again, she has a dry skin. Also, I should mention I have oily skin, so I'm not using a luminizing primer because that would be a lot. Okay, so she was using the IT Cosmetics Heavenly Complexion like duo brush as well. I don't have that, so I'm going to be using something that looks kind of similar. But so I'm taking my foundation, in which the Bye Bye Pores foundation is like it's the exact same packaging as this, or the Bye Bye foundation. And she used like, it looked like a half a pump on one side of her face. It was like about that much. And I have this in the shade Fair, by the way. There's not like a ton of shades in this, which is unfortunate, but Fair is the lightest shade, and that's the one I had to go with. And then she kind of dotted it around one side of her face, and then took a like foundation brush. I'm using the e.l.f. I think this is the Flawless Complexion brush. They don't put their names on their brushes anymore. I hate it. And then just blended it in to her skin. So I'm going to do that. So she just kind of blended for like a really long time. So I'm gonna attempt that. I'm I'm going to do the same thing with the other side, just use about a half a pump. I think I'm using actually a little less than a half a pump, and just doing the other side of my foundation, or the other side of my face. I do feel like, I mean, this isn't a lot of product, but I do feel like when I'm doing my foundation normally, I probably don't use too much more than this anyways. I don't really like the way that foundation looks on my skin. I typically will go in with just more concealer or a powder to set things. Foundation isn't, like liquid foundation isn't my favorite. That's another reason why I was attracted to this routine. So you don't use a lot. So I'm really liking the way that this side of my face looks. This side, again, I have like some more problem areas here. But I think this side looks really nice. It's like kind of glowy. Got a little bit of a sheen to it, but it just looks really nice. So I'm going to take a touch more, just do a little bit on my forehead, and then maybe just go over this little area here again. So I'm probably using about a pump of foundation total. Low on my nose. So I'm pre-filming a little bit this week. I'm actually going to be in Chicago next week when this video, actually no, I'll still be in Minneapolis when this video goes up, but next week I will be in Chicago, and so I'm trying to kind of get some stuff ready to go before I leave. I'm very excited. We're going for my birthday / like just to get away. We haven't really done a vacation by ourselves in a while, my husband and I. We're usually, if we're traveling, we're usually either going home to California, which is always fun, but it's still not like a vacation by yourself. Or we are doing some kind of like work trip, which is also fun, but again, not really a vacation. And so we're going to Chicago for 6 days. I'm pretty excited. I think the last time we had like a vacation by ourselves, like anywhere close to that length of time, was our honeymoon over 5 years ago. And so I'm pretty excited. My hair is very faded right now. It's normally like pink, but it got a little faded, but I'm getting it redone tomorrow, so I'm pretty excited. Even though there's not much foundation, I'm just kind of blending it, whatever's left on my brush, to my neck, just to make sure there's really not any line. I think it looks nice and blended. Blend into my hairline really good. I think overall, I mean, my face looks really nice and like kind of evened out my complexion, helped with a little bit of blemishes, but not like anything really extreme. So I am going to use a concealer, and she also used concealer in her video. She used the Milk like high coverage concealer. I don't have any Milk makeup products. That's a brand that I have been interested in trying, but I just haven't taken the plunge on anything. But I'm using this Ulta Beauty full coverage liquid concealer. I have been enjoying this. I got this a few weeks ago, but really liking it so far. And so she just did concealer kind of down like this area here, did like a little bit here, and then kind of addressed any like blemish areas. And so I'm going to do the same thing. I think I'm going to work one side of the face at a time though, because this concealer does dry pretty quick. And I want to get some movement with it. So I'm going to do just a little here. Address some problem areas. I'm not quite sure what brush I want to use to blend this in. She had that Cosmetics dual-ended brush, and I don't really have a brush that looks similar to that. I do have a brush that I got in an Ipsy a while ago. It's by the brand Bogacious, and it's like this illuminator brush, which I think you're supposed to use as highlight, but I actually really like it for concealer. So I'm gonna try this, but just kind of the same thing, blending it in like circular motions, kind of bringing it across the under eye a bit. So I do feel like this brush is leaving like some brush strokes, and so we're gonna have to kind of work good. The areas I'm trying to conceal, I'm gonna use a pretty light hand to kind of keep that product in place, but just blend out the edges so I get some good coverage. And I might go back with that e.l.f. brush and just kind of very lightly blend over on top of it, because this one does a really good job of like there being no brush lines or just blending really well. This breakout here is just like, it's in the healing phase now, which is great, but it's like super dry around this area, so all the product is just like clinging to it, which is very annoying because you want to like conceal, but then you also want it to like not draw attention to it. Acne, it's just so annoying. So doing the same thing on the other side. I'm also gonna do kind of a touch in the middle of my forehead. I've got quite a bit of like texture in there, and I feel like concealer just usually kind of helps it a little bit. So that's after my foundation and concealer, and I do think that it is like a really nice finish to the skin. It just looks natural, but like a little bit more perfected. So I do want to set this with a powder. Mariah set it with a powder, but you also don't want to get rid of like the glossiness of your skin, which is like why it looks like glass. So we're just going to use a very minimal amount of powder. And for powder, we're going to be using the Glossier Wowder. This is definitely one of my favorite powders as of late. This is like it's not a translucent powder. This is in the shade light medium, but it doesn't add like a ton of product, or it doesn't add like a lot of color to your face. It just kind of sets things really nice. And that's what I'm looking for. And I'm going to be using this e.l.f. small tapered brush. This is a favorite. And we're just going to use like the smallest amount of powder. So I have like this much on a brush. I'm going to tap it into the lid. Kind of blend it on the brush a little bit. And set under eyes. And then we're just going to take like a very small bit and kind of tap it around the face. I'm really focusing on the areas that I get super oily throughout the day. 'Cause since I do get oily, I don't want to like neglect powdering, but I also do want this like natural look to stay around, which is why I think this powder is really great. It looks like skin, but it does kind of set things down. And that pretty much completes the foundation part of this tutorial. And then Mariah did go in with like a cream bronzer and blush. I don't like cream products really, and so I'm going to be just using powder blush. I'm going to skip bronzer today. I've been doing that lately. I can't be bothered with that, honestly. I'm going to be using the Pretty Vulgar Make Them Blush blush, and this is in the shade Prim Vixen. And I'm just taking this e.l.f. brush. This one doesn't have a name on it either, but I'm just going to lightly tap into this since this is such a pink blush, and lightly tap and just apply to the cheeks. Just want to bring a little bit of like color and like brightness to my skin. I like to take a touch above my brow. I feel like it just kind of lifts the face a little bit. And then for highlight, she did use a powder highlight, which I'm also going to do, but I'm going to go in with something a little bit different. I'm going to be using this Naked Cosmetics like holographic highlighter palette, and I'm going to go in with this lightest shade here. It's like a peachy pink, and I just think it looks really nice with this blush. And I'm using this e.l.f. like fan brush. Mariah used a like big fluffy brush, which I think would also be really good just to kind of get a light dusting of highlight everywhere, but I feel like a fan kind of does that too. I'm just going to apply it. And then the final step is I just want to set this all in place. So instead of going in with like an illuminator setting spray or like something that's gonna like meld your makeup into your skin, I'm gonna go in with something that's a little bit more like long lasting. And so Mariah used the Urban Decay All Nighter. I don't have that, but I used the Wet n Wild matte finish spray, I think. Matte finish setting spray. So I'm gonna use this, just do like a few little spritz to kind of set things in place, and then that's pretty much it. And that is it for the foundation part of this tutorial. So I'm gonna do like my eyes. I'm just gonna do something really simple, and then I'll be back to close out this video. So this is the final look. Again, I did just really simple with my eyes, but I really enjoy the way that my skin looks. I think it's really nice and like natural, but just kind of perfects a little bit. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I know I really enjoyed watching Mariah's video. When I first watched it, I was like, yes, why hasn't anyone else been talking about like minimal foundation looks? That's like my ideal look. So I was very excited and really happy to give this a try, and I thought it'd be fun to kind of like get it going. I feel like we're coming into spring and summer, and like it finally is spring here in Minneapolis, which is really great. I'm wearing a sweater today because it's a little bit cooler. We're in like the 50s, but it's finally spring, and like spring and summer, I just want like really fresh skin and like glowy, but like still a little bit perfected in helping my skin with some areas it needs help in. And so I thought this was such a good look and such a great time to put out this look. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. I would love to have you around. And until next time, bye guys.